Okay, welcome to episode one of Simspace. I feel like obviously this is way overdue. So first of all, let's address the elephant in the room. I I know a lot of you were confused, and when I say confused, I mean people genuinely looked at me as if I was crazy, which is fair enough. So yes, the truth is I announced this podcast. I did the visuals. I spoke with my chest like I had something crazy to say, and then I disappeared. Gone. Properly disappeared. Not just soft launch quiet, not just I'm taking a break. I simply vanished. And I know. So relax, we're going to get to it, all right? I'm going to explain it all, I promise. It wasn't just, I think what made it crazy is that it wasn't just strangers asking me what had happened. It was my own friends, calling me, turning up at my house, sending me voice notes. Sim, what the hell? Why would you announce something and not drop it? You said coming soon. It's been months. And I remember one of them literally shouting at me. And I deserved it, to be fair. It wasn't gentle shouting. It was the tone that said you're better than this, which somehow I think hurt a lot more at the time because now it's accountability layered with disappointment. And the annoying part is they weren't wrong, right? That's what made it worse because I'm not flaky. If I say I'm doing something, I usually execute. I'm not going to soft launch my personality for banter. So when I didn't drop the episode, it wasn't because I got bored or because I was inconsistent or that, I'm that type of person to be inconsistent like that. It's just because 2025 decided to fucking humble me mid rollout. And that's not even me being dramatic, that's literal. I had everything ready. I had the mic, the notes, the outline. And every time I wanted to record something, something else would explode emotionally, socially, mentally. And I just remember sitting down trying to record something, and my life would just simply say, absolutely not. And I'm not being dramatic. I just couldn't sit here and pretend like everything was calm when it wasn't. And I'm not going to do the whole welcome to my podcast while my life is upside down. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. My brain was doing backflips. That's just not authentic. And if you know me, you know I can't fake energy. If something feels off internally, I shut down externally. I won't and will not perform stability. And the thing is that chaos didn't even start off slowly, it started at home. And I'm not going to make it poetic, it's just the truth. I'm going to say it how it is. There's a kind of there's a weird kind of grief when your family loves you but doesn't fully accept who you are. It's not explosive, no one's fighting, nobody's screaming, nobody's disowning you publicly. It's just space, right? And it's just conversations that don't go all the way. It's boundaries that are respected but heavy. And then suddenly it's silence, complete silence. The phone is no longer ringing, the text messages are no longer going through. Um, and you know the moment that moment is coming, but you've been avoiding and wishing it doesn't happen. Yeah, that moment when being an outcast in the family suddenly becomes the you no longer exist to us. It's the kind of thing I think a lot of people don't obviously post about. You just carry it. The truth is, I respect Islamic religion. I am a Muslim through and through, and I respect my mother. I respect what she believes in, even if I disagree with some of her views. That doesn't mean I don't feel the distance sometimes, that I don't miss my mother. And I miss her hugs, her smile, her laughter, just her in total. And that's not something you outgrow just because you're strong or independent or building something. You can be building an empire and still want your mom's hug. Both things can exist. And that's the bit that people don't talk about, growth and grief, and how they can live in the same body. So I'm already carrying that quietly. Yeah, cool. Now add my brain into the mix because my brain doesn't rest ever. And I don't know if it's the ADHD in me or if it's because I came out wired wrong, but my mind is just constantly running. It's planning shit, replaying conversations from years ago, analyzing tone shifts, thinking about life, thinking about future milestones, thinking about everything at 2 a.m. for absolutely no reason, And then I wonder why I'm fucking diagnosed with insomnia. So, yeah, I had all of that going on at that time. And, I'm the type of person where externally I look calm, internally it's a board meeting. There's charts, there's projections, there's worst case scenarios, there's three different versions of my future happening simultaneously. I know, like, sometimes I'll be brushing my teeth and mentally negotiating some shit that doesn't even exist anymore. So I'm already restless, already feeling like I'm outgrowing certain rooms. You know, when you sit somewhere and suddenly it just doesn't fit anymore. Nothing's happened, nobody's offended you. You just feel misaligned. That was me. And I just couldn't articulate it why. I just knew something was shifting. And then, because apparently that wasn't enough, 2025 again said, "Oh, so you thought we were fucking done?" I'm not even exaggerating. It wasn't one big dramatic disaster. It's just, at the time, I just almost wish it was. At least then I could point to it and say, ah, that's the problem. No, it was layered, it was strategic, it was personal. It was the kind of year that doesn't punch you in the face. It rearranges your, internal wiring. That's what 2025 felt for me. It was subtle, little disruptions here and there, plans not landing how they were supposed to, energies shifting in rooms I used to feel super comfortable in, opportunities almost working out, almost. And I remember thinking this might go left, and not in a dramatic way, just observant, like, you know, seeing a glass too close to the edge of a table. You're not going to go and touch it, but you know that gravity's patient. And 2025 had patience. It wasn't one big explosion, it was an accumulation. Emotionally, I was tested. Mentally, I was overclocked. Spiritually, I was confronted. And relationally, I was stretched. Every area of my life felt like it was under review at the same time. And I'm thinking, how and why? How did we get here, man? I wasn't reckless. I wasn't self sabotaging. I was building. I was working on myself. I was loving. I was trying. And somehow, every time I established one area, another one will start to shake. I would find emotional clarity, something external would throw me off. I would find, peace for 3 days, and boom, new lessons unlocked. I would set boundaries, what you get uncomfortable. And I'm not anti lesson, but sometimes I just want to space it out. You get me? Externally, I looked fine, functioning, posting, smiling, handling business. But internally, it was survival mode for me, dressed up as composure. There were nights I was there that I would be laying there thinking, is this growth or is this just exhaustion? Because growth feels expansive. It was a lot of resistance training with no water fucking break. And expectations didn't stop. People still expected me to show up, still expected me to perform, still expected me to be stable. And then it was just ridiculous. So I went quiet because when too many things are shifting at once, you know, I can either explode or readjust. So I tried to readjust. I stopped explaining, I stopped overextending, I stopped fighting every fire. And I just started to observe. And this is when I realized something. Like, bear with me, right? This is when I realized something. I realized that 2025 wasn't random. It was the year of exposure for me personally. It was exposing where I was still tolerating. It was exposing where I was overgiving, where I was still mistaking intensity for alignment. And I think that's where love came in for me last year. Because while everything else was shifting, I also happened to have fallen in love. And it was love, like tunnel vision, future planning, but delusional in a confident way type of love. And nobody forced me. I chose it. But one thing I also realized is we don't just get played, we kind of volunteer for it. And when I say tunnel vision, I mean integrating lives mentally before everything's even stable. So this one humbled me though, I can't lie. So I'm going to be honest with myself for a second. I fell for a pretty face without a beating heart. Not evil, not cartoon evil, just empty where it mattered. The face was elite, the chemistry was loud, the kind that makes you feel good, the kind that makes you ignore the small things because the high is fucking distracting. But the character, questionable. And the dangerous part is I realized that I don't just fall for words. I fall for intensity. I fall for potential. I fall for the version of someone I think they could fucking be if they actually did the work. And Pretty will have you negotiating standards that you built with discipline. Fuck. That prettiness had me explaining away disrespect because it was just wrapped up nicely, I think. But I saw the signs, I did. I saw the tone shifts. I felt that, the little dismissals here and there, moments where my intuition would say, But I told myself, don't overthink. I wasn't overthinking. I was just, I think, under listening. And that's the difference for me. I don't regret loving fully, though. I really don't. So if I'm being honest, some of the chaos, I think I entertained it longer than I should have. Not because I didn't see it, but because I think I wanted it to be different. I overrode my discernment because the face was convincing, the face was calm, the delivery was calm, but the heart was chaos. And I have to take accountability for that. And here's where I am now. I'm at a different stage in my life. I'm not looking for intensity anymore. I'm not impressed by potential. I don't want to decode mixed signals. I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to build a future of maybes. I want that intention. So I'm at that point where I genuinely want to build forever with my person. Marriage, kids, stability, a home that feels peaceful. The boring kind of beautiful consistency. I want that partnership, I think. So that's something I learned in 2025 as well, while getting humbled in every way. But that shift didn't come from bitterness. It came from growth. I've adapted my whole life, I've adjusted, I've made space, I've understood. And I don't want to keep adapting to chaos and calling it love. I don't regret loving fully, like I said. I just know that loving fully also means loving wisely. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, I did stay in that situation longer than I should have because I thought patience could create character. It can't. Character is there or it isn't. And that was the lesson for me because whilst everything was going crazy, when that shit ended, it kind of ended loud. There was narratives flying, opinions flying, indirect flying. And I kind of stayed quiet, which is quite hard for me to do if you know me fully. I'm not someone who just takes shit and keeps it cute. I'll always stand up for what's right. And when you've got the truth in your corner, what exactly are you losing? Silence feels like losing sometimes, though. I can't lie. Um, it feels like I'm letting nonsense breathe. What the fuck? But there were nights that I genuinely thought maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm too much or I'm too intense. And, I started realizing actually, hang on a minute, expecting character isn't intensity, it's standards. And I'm not competing in chaos. I don't need an audience to validate my experience. So I processed whatever I needed to process privately and I decided to build publicly. That's my pattern. And then, yeah, on top of everything else, I happened to have gone viral on one of my videos on TikTok by accident. And I didn't plan it. I didn't sit there thinking, oh, yeah, this is going to blow. It just went innocently. And thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And at first I'm thinking, okay, cool, whatever. But then the comments started coming. And it's like, wait, what are you lot so angry about? Keyboard warriors out of nowhere, anti-women takes, random homophobia, people arguing with someone about something I didn't even say, and it's not even one or two comments, it's constant. You reply to one, five more appears, you close the app, your head is still buzzing. And I'll be honest, I started replying because, like I said, I don't take shit. I can't just sit there when someone's chatting shit in my comments. That's not me. If something's wrong, I'm going to say it's wrong. But then it became exhausting because it's not a conversation, it's noise. And then there's this weird obsession that I always get on social media. Are you a man? Be honest. Are you a man? Why do you look like that? Are you taking hormones? I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I've got short hair. Yeah, I wear masculine clothes. But since when was that only subscribed to being a man? Since when? Because personally, the most beautiful, feminine, and equally as masculine thing in this world is a woman bringing a child into it. So when was masculinity sitting on a pedestal like it belonged to men only? I beg, please. So, let's clear up one thing now. I feel like it's time I said this publicly, motherfuckers. I am a biological woman. I live and I identify as a woman. I have never wanted to be a man, ever. And the fact that people feel comfortable constantly asking me if I'm a man or if I'm on hormones because I don't present how they expect, that's fucking weird. And the hormone comment, especially, since when was that acceptable in any community? To push this strange idea that because I'm masculine, I must be on something. Like, I think that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard online. Are you okay? Like, literally, are you fucking okay? And respectfully, all of you weirdos calling me a man like some kind of insult can actually relax. No one is bullying me. And the mental headache of having to constantly fight back keyboard warriors, that's mad. It's actually ridiculous because I'm not going to stay silent. But at the same time, if you stay silent, they say you can't defend yourself. If you reply, you're too aggressive. It's a fucking losing game. So I had to ask myself, am I going to sit here fighting strangers all day, or am I going to build something bigger than their comment section? So I chose to build. And I think that's the lonely part sometimes. Not a dramatic lonely, not crying on the floor type shit. High functioning, lonely. Being the strong one, being the visionary one, being the one people come to. But who do you go to? And when you're building something that doesn't fully exist yet, you're ahead of your you're ahead of your current circle. And that's isolating because not everyone can see what you see. Not everyone can understand the pressure that you put on yourself. And sometimes I'm sat there thinking, oh my gosh, I hope this works. And there's no one in the room to reassure me, right? So I think that's the lonely part. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, I had to realize I need to stop being Captain Save a Hole. Because why am I unpacking generational trauma on date 3? Why am I emotionally sponsoring, projects that I'm not licensed for? I might be Somali, but I'm not the captain now. That era is finished. And I had to laugh at myself for that because I really thought I was emotionally equipped for every project. Nah. But in all honesty, I think that doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from being the oldest child, the only daughter in a single parent household. I grew up being responsible before I even understood what responsibility was. I was too busy translating things, holding things, managing emotions that were mine, fixing things quietly and loudly. So, of course, I thought I could fix people. Of course, I thought I could handle anyone's trauma. That's muscle memory. But adulthood has taught me that just because I can carry it, it doesn't mean I should. And here's the wild part. While all of that chaos is happening for me, I'm building. I've not stopped. Like literally in between emotional breakdowns, I'm out here designing shit. House of Sim, After Hours, Runs, Simspace. And let's talk about money, for example. Because building sounds sexy until it's your own card being tapped. Invoices, invoices, invoices. There were moments I'm looking at invoices like, okay, you've got to breathe now. Nobody's funding this. There's no safety net. It's just me betting on myself. And betting on yourself sounds empowering on Instagram. But in real life, I had what I would call the quiet panic. Because in my head, I'm thinking, what if it flops? What if people don't show up? What if I build something beautiful and nobody gives a shit? And alongside all of that, I think I learned something super important, which was kind of in relation to why I also was silent in bringing out any episodes. Simspace doesn't make sense without House of Sim. It just doesn't. Simspace is the voice. House of Sim is the foundation. After Hours is the experience. Runs is the community. Without the house, there are no rooms. So while everything around me felt unstable, I was building structure. And building structure is how I cope, right? It literally is. If I can't control the chaos, I'll create something I can control. And let's not even pretend like that I wasn't living two lives, because I was. I am a corporate voice by day, a visionary lunatic by night. I'll be smiling in meetings during the day, and then at night I'm coming home and I'm mapping out cultural collectives like I had investors waiting, answering emails, then opening fucking Canva at midnight, designing shit like my life depended on it. See how crazy that is? And I think for me, no one sees that split between the what I have to do and what I want to do. No one sees the version of you that's exhausted but still fucking ambitious. The version of you that knows you're capable of more, but you still have bills to pay, right? So it's not like you can just give up on everything else. There's a very specific frustration for me where I've realized that I'm outgrowing my current environment, but I still somehow need it. The tension is a bit heavy because I am so grateful, but I'm also so hungry for success. And those two things fight each other sometimes. They really fucking fight each other, in my head at least. It's a milestone I think no one gets to see. They don't get to see the launch. They don't see the posters. They don't see the decisions that are building. The moments where I'll be saying, I'm not going to pause my shit because life is uncomfortable. Like, my vision still has to come out, whether it's good or bad, regardless. And even going out actually started to annoy me. I used to love going out, right? I was tired of, I think, spending money on things to be disappointed, or dragging my friends to be like, yo, you gotta come out, and then leaving underwhelmed. Um, so that's why I created After Hours. I don't want to be in a room with dead energy. DJs not reading the room, promoters overselling the vibe, music cutting off early, no cohesion, no atmosphere, just people standing around pretending it's lit because they're already paid. No, and I just don't want to be in that kind of environment. So I thought, why not change it myself? Got tired of watching people argue with security, watching the DJ switch genres every 30 seconds, watching the hype online, but never matching the reality in the room. It's not about the money, I think it's about the regret. It's about getting dressed, coordinating outfits, doing the whole "where are you" dance in the group chat, and then looking at each other at fucking 1 a.m. in the morning. Are we still staying? So I decided, if I'm going to leave my house when I could have been in pajamas, you fucking disrespected me. And not just me, you've disrespected my time, my energy, the people I've dragged outside, the effort it takes to get outside. So I built After Hours. It's as simple as that. Because I was tired of complaining about the standards. I was tired of saying this could have been better. I was tired of seeing potential wasted. If I'm going to be outside, it's going to feel intentional. It's going to feel curated. It's going to feel worth it. It wasn't ego, it was standards for me. And once I raise my standards externally, I have to look at my standards internally too. Because what was 2025 actually about? You know, I absorbed a lot of shit. I absorbed everybody's emotions, everyone's projections, everyone's chaos. And at some point, I had to ask myself, what am I carrying? Why am I carrying things that were never mine? And then Ramadan was coming. And if you know, you know. Ramadan isn't just no food and no water. It's a reflection. It's discipline. It's stripping things back. It's sitting with yourself properly. So I decided, while everything else was going on, while I was dealing with things emotionally, while my relationship was breaking down with both my family and my ex-partner and all of this crap and just so much happening, work and wanting to do better and be better, I started a 40-day cleanse before Ramadan. And this wasn't random, it was necessary. It was a lot of delete, remove, archive, reset. Conversations that drained me had to go. Access that felt heavy, adjusted. Energy that felt off, bye bye, removed. Because some of the stuff that I tolerated, fucking embarrassing. I swear to God. It's not just tragic, it's embarrassing. And I think Ramadan forced me to be honest about that. You can't fast all day and still feed chaos at night. And embarrassment for me is such a powerful teacher. And that's the shift, I think. Yeah. So 2025 tried me in layers. 2026, I'm trying it back. Not louder, just smarter, more aware, less available. And if you're listening and any of this feels familiar, that's why SimSpace exists. Not for aesthetic, for honesty. Welcome.